Welcome in, everybody, to the Big Blue Breakdown episode number 6 here on the podcast. And make sure to go check us out on X, TikTok, Instagram at Big Blue underscore Breakdown. Now, got a lot to talk about here in this preview, talking about Kentucky going down to Starksville, playing Mississippi State. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the episode, just break down the episode here a little bit. We're going to talk about the history between the two. We're going to talk about break down the matchup, we're going to break down Kentucky's opponent here. Talk about the disadvantages and disadvantages the Cats have in this game and how big of a game this is, especially after the loss to Georgia Tuesday. And I'm going to give you an MVP and a prediction. Okay, so let's talk about the history between these two. Now, Kentucky hasn't lost, I believe, hasn't lost in Starksville since 2008. 16 years ago, 16 years ago. That's just crazy, first of all. Last year, Kentucky hit a game winner with Reed Sheppard. Mississippi State climbed back into the game after Kentucky had a pretty big advantage at one point to tie the game up with a couple seconds to go. Josh Hubbard hit a three. We'll actually be talking about him a lot today. And Reed Sheppard, I believe it was actually DJ Wagner, comes down the floor, makes a pass, and gets to Reed Sheppard, goes through the lane. A little like floater type of shot to win it for the Cats. Kentucky wins the one last year by 2. I believe it was like 91-89. I believe. I don't have it pulled up to see, but we won by 2 on the last second shot from Sheppard. Okay. When Pope was a was a player at Kentucky, he lost in the SEC championship in Starksville, I'm pretty sure. SEC championship in Starksville, pretty sure. And that year that they won it, Kentucky did, Mississippi State was also in the Final Four. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of history between these two here. Now, let's go ahead and break down the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Okay, a little bit of stats here, a little bit of statistics here on KenPom. KenPom has them at 17th in the country overall. They are 14-1, 2-0 in the SEC. They are ranked 17th in offensive efficiency, 26th defensively in defensive efficiency. This team is a very good offensive rebounding team. So this team is very much like a Georgia that Kentucky just faced. They are very much like a Clemson that Kentucky lost to earlier in the year. And I'm guessing they will try to be using the same formula that all these other teams have used to beat Kentucky. And they have the players to do it. And their play style backs it up. In the last couple of years, this team has played actually at a slower pace. This year, with having more of scoring weapons, which we'll get into here soon, they have been able to play at a faster pace, which may be a good thing for the Cats. I don't get into specifics why that could be a good thing for the Cats here later, but we talk about all the time these teams playing slower against Kentucky. These teams, slowing the game down, not letting us play at the pace that we want to play, not letting us play at, our game basically. And I feel like the teams that have played that way against us, that have, played at a higher tempo, we've won. So maybe that could play into Kentucky's favor in this one. So I want to talk about a little bit about Mississippi State's head basketball coach, Chris Jans. Very, very good coach. Again, kind of methodical guy for sure, but not really this season. His previous two stops, I believe, were Bowling Green and it was Bowling Green and New Mexico State, I believe. New Mexico State, New Mexico, whatever, right? Played at a slower pace at both places. New Mexico State was very, very good when he was there, and now he is at Mississippi State. He's been the head coach now here for the Bulldogs for, I think this is going on his third season. Yeah, going on his third season. He got the job in March of 2022. This is going to be a tough matchup for Kentucky. Not only because of the players that they have, the environment. Going down to Starksville, it's going to be insane. It's truly going to be insane. It's already sold out. I mean, we're going to be everybody's Super Bowl, all right? We've talked about the stats a little bit here. Overall team stats, I mean. This team is very, very good, and they're very well coached. They're experienced, you know. It's going to be tough. It's truly going to be tough. Kentucky comes in as a 6-point underdog as of right now. Now, let's talk about how this team is a little bit different from the past couple of years Chris Jans has been here. And I'll tell you one dude that has really stepped up to be the difference maker. Josh Hubbard, guard, 5'10" to 5'11". He's averaging 17 points a game, averaging 3.3 assists, and I'm trying to see and he's shooting almost 40% from three, which is pretty good. Shooting 83.3% from the line. Now, as of today, as an overall team stat, I believe Mississippi State, through their two SEC games, now they've beat South Carolina and Vandy, which are kind of at the bottom tier of the SEC as of right now. Now, each team is very dangerous in their own right, but those teams have kind of been at the bottom of the tier. We're definitely going to be the best team that they've played in SEC play so far and overall. But this team is, again, very good. They're very balanced, very good defense. As I mentioned, I think 26 or 27 in KenPom, and top 20 in offensive efficiency in KenPom as well. Now, Kentucky has dropped all the way down to 23. They were at 19th before the Georgia loss. Barely hanging in the top 25 here for the Cats. But Mississippi State, yes, they're at 17th. Yeah, 17th and 26 defense. So 17th on the offensive efficiency and 26 on the defensive efficiency. So, again, very well-balanced team led by Josh Hubbard. It's a tough matchup for the boys tonight. Tough matchup. And he's not even my main worry, because I feel like the matchup between him and Lamont, I like Lamont, a more experienced guard. I think he can be a little bit more physical. He's a little bit bigger than Josh Hubbard. The guys that scare me are their forwards. Keyshawn Murphy, averaging 7.7 rebounds a game, leading the team, and 1.3 blocks a game, also leading the team. Guy that is leading the team in assists and in steals is Cameron Matthews. 4.1 assists per game and 2.5 steals a game. He scares me very much on both sides of the ball. Okay? He's only averaging 8 points, but he's averaging almost 7 rebounds per game. To be exact, it's 6.9, right? He's shooting 60% from the field, which is very good. and he's all of 6'7", 235 pounds built. He's senior, experienced. This guy, nightmares. He's not a good three-point shooter, even though he sits at 50%. I'm guessing I haven't seen the volume. Definitely probably hasn't taken a lot of shots there. And he's not a good free throw shooter at 47.5%. But man, does he control games. Does he control games with his athletic ability, with his physicalness? And we'll get to some of the Kentucky issues here soon, but just breaking down this team, this guy's an X factor for this game. I'm not necessarily all worried about Josh Hubbard. Now, he can light it up from three, but I feel like we can throw a lot of guys at Josh Hubbard to really throw him off of his game a little bit, especially with Lamont in this one and maybe Otega Owe. But, man, their bigs scare me a lot. Okay, another guy, another guard. Let's get through their entire roster, break down their roster here. Claudwell Harris, second leading scorer on this team, a guard, 11.1 points a game, 3.3 rebounds. I want to see his size here, 6'4", pretty good size guard right here. Otega probably is going to be on him, or Riley Kugel. Riley Kugel, now transfer guard from Florida, is supposed to, I believe he's a six-man, if I'm not mistaken. He is coming off the bench. Now, that may be a mistake here. I'm not sure if he's coming off the bench, but he can be. But yeah, Riley Kugel, a transfer guard from Florida, averaging 9.7 points a game, which is fourth on the team, 3.1 rebounds. Now, this is a guy that adds a lot of depth to this team, and very good depth. Like this guy at Florida, we're talking about superstar potential. And when he transferred over, talking about superstar potential. This was a big get for them. I think his shooting is what is holding him back right now. He's shooting 46.3% from the field, and I'm trying to see. Yeah, 3-point percentage is what really is holding him back from being that superstar that, we've seen. Shooting 30% from three-point land, which he hasn't through his career been great at shooting the three-point shot. But man, I mean, in the last game against Vanderbilt, 0 points, 3 turnovers. Not very good. Now, his breakout game was against BCU, where he had 22, and then against number 21 Memphis, he had 19. So he's definitely been very streaky of a player. Hopefully, that he's not on tonight for them, but most likely he will be, But I like the matchup between him and Otega, especially with him being very, very streaky type of player. I like the matchup that Otega. I like the matchup that Otega brings to the table here against Riley Kugel or Claudwell Harris. Again, their forwards is what I am worried about. We don't know what type of calls we're going to get tonight. We don't know how physical this team is going to be. They're going to be physical. They're going to be very, very scrappy. Keyshawn Murphy. I just mentioned him. I believe. Yeah. No, I didn't mention him yet. Yeah, I did. Sorry. They're starting forward. 9.9 points a game, and I've already mentioned his other stats in 7.7 rebounds a game, 2.1 assists. He's shooting 52% from the field. He's a 6'10", 230-pound junior. This kind of worries me. Andrew Carr is questionable tonight, right? Andrew Carr is questionable for the game tonight. It's gonna him down there with Brandon or Amari is gonna worry me. You kind of Andrew Carr is questionable now. The thing on him is If you can't get him, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough to win this game because you're not going to have as much depth in the front court that you need because Ainsley Almore is probably going to start at that position unless we go small. I don't like the matchup because I just don't like it at all. The front court is what really scares me with this team and how physical they are. Offensive rebounds, we got to be able to win that department, right? It's man, it's gonna be a tough game. You also got guys like Michael Nuoka, who is averaging 7.1 points a game. He is also 6'10". He's 245 pounds, five rebounds a game. He's shooting 55% from the field. I could see a problem with their depth at the bigs position, really affecting the Cats in this game. This team is a very physical team. This team is a very good offensive rebounding team. And you mix that in, they are a pretty good shooting team. They have their superstar, they have their star in Josh Hubbard that can get it done on the offensive end. Now, all of them are very good defensively. And another factor that's gonna play into this game is the crowd. One more guy that I'd like to mention is RJ Melendez, another forward. So their depth is something to also worry about in this game. Now, this is kind of a matchup that Andrew Carr would have here. He does stand at 6'7", 210. Now, Andrew Carr would have the height advantage over him, and Ainsley Almanor would have, they would be around the same height, probably around the same weight as well. He's averaging 8.7 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, and shooting 50% from the field, 49 exactly from the field. They have so much depth at the forward position that if we don't have Andrew, it's going to be a legitimate problem, and it has been a legitimate problem even with Andrew in there. We need him to be there. He's questionable right now. That means he's 50-50, right? He's got to be there. He's got to be there for us. Okay. Now that we've really broken down this team, what type of team they are, they're 14-1. They have a game win streak. Place is going to be rocking. It's going to be a tough place to play for the Cats. This team is ranked 14th in the AP top 25 and again 17th in KenPom. Very balanced team, very big team, very physical team, and shooting is there for them. Okay. Let's talk about some advantages that I like for the Cats. Okay. I don't want to say this is an advantage or like that, but Kentucky is due. Kentucky, well, let me say more. Kobe Brea has already shown his shooting. Kentucky as an overall unit is due for an amazing three-point shooting game. Just due. And that hopefully that comes to play. Now, it hasn't come to play all season yet. On the road, it hasn't come to play all season. Okay, you hope that we're due and we come out and we bang some threes here, right? The advantages that I like for us is again in the backcourt. The reason that I like our advantages in the backcourt, Ortega has been very consistent. Lamont's been probably maybe our best player so far. Very consistent from him as well. He had the best performance last game against Georgia. I believe he had 19 or 18 or something like that. That's where I like us. I believe we have been, percentage-wise, very, very good at stopping three-point shooters. I believe we can do that again in this game. I believe Georgia had 7 last game, which is kind of uncharacteristic of us, and we turned the ball over last game. I don't even want to reminisce on that last game, but again, I like our backcourt situation in matchups. I like Lamont on Josh Hubbard, and I believe that if we're gonna take it to the basket with Lamont, I think that he can be a better. He can really affect him because he's a bigger body. I like it. I like the matchup, especially on offense against Josh Hubbard for Lamont. I like Ortega on Riley Kugel. They have some good guards, but again, where I'm looking here is the front court. Because, man, they have a lot of depth and they're daggone physical and good. I like our matchups. I mean, Jackson's probably going to guard possibly Clawell or Riley Kugel. And with Riley not being that great this season, consistent-wise, I like the matchup, whoever is on him, right? Again, it's the big man. It's the big man that scare me in this game, especially. Again, our advantages, like I've been saying this entire time, are in the backcourt. And we're due. We're due, right? Another advantage that I think that Kentucky can have in this game is with Mississippi State playing at this faster pace than they really ever have, that could play into the favor of Kentucky because that's Kentucky basketball. Unless they try to slow it down, which they might, but if they're playing a certain way, I don't know if they really switch that up exactly, especially at home. Playing the way they play, and if they play fast, that'll play right into the favor of Kentucky. And that could really get our offense going, especially in transition, speed the game up. That plays into our favor, right? But if they don't do it, it obviously doesn't. But with the consistency that they have been playing at a faster pace, I like that for the Cats, right? All right, disadvantages. The depth in the front court. Without Andrew Carr, we are limited a lot. And their physicality, their depth in front, their depth and our depth in the front court is a disadvantage to both of us. And lastly, their home court advantage. All three things right there are disadvantages for the Cats tonight. And we genuinely haven't played good on the road yet. Except for the Gonzaga meeting, which I would consider a road matchup. Okay. Now that we got out of that, let's talk about the Cats a little bit. I'm going to keep saying this. Jaxson Robinson needs to step up. If Jaxson Robinson had played well, like we know he can, in the Georgia game, we probably would have won that. We definitely would have won the Clemson game if he had stepped up and played the way he can. We would have won that. I don't know about the Ohio State one. I'm not going to say anything on that one because we lost by so much. But I think he legitimately could have won us 2 games if he had stepped up. Breakout game, probably not. It's going to be really hard with this crowd, but I can hope. I can hope for him to have a breakout game, right? But yeah, it's going to be a tough one tonight, especially, again, with this is a disadvantage to us because this is not a good matchup for us. Their physicality, they're able to get offensive rebounds. They have depth in their front court, especially now without possibly having Andrew Carr. It's going to be tough, right? All right. So let's break down some keys for the game. If Kentucky is going to win this game, what needs to happen? Number 1, you have to have Andrew Carr. That's number 1. You have to start and have Andrew Carr. Okay? Number 2, you got to be able to protect the rim. 2 is protect the rim. I want to say there's going to be four things that the Cats need to do in this game if they're going to win. Number 1, protect the rim. I'm going to write this down here so I can come back to it. Protect the rim. Number 2 is going to be I just had it in the back of my mind. Oh, number 2 is going to, again, I'm using this one again. Hit 10 threes. Scratch that. Not hit 10 threes. Shoot 40%. Shoot 40% from the field. Because every time Kentucky has shot 40% from the field, they have won the game. Every time they have not, they have lost. Kind of a magic number for the Cats. Shoot 40%. Key, right? I like to use it here. Okay. Number 3. Number 4. Number 4, actually. Not number 4. Number 4. So we have 1, have Andrew Carr, right? Number 2, protect the rim. Number 3, shoot 40% from the field. And lastly, it is don't get in foul trouble. Don't get in foul trouble, especially for the front court. Okay, break these down here one more time. Have Andrew Carr in this one. It's going to be tough if we can't. Number 2, protect the rim. Number 3, shoot 40%. And number 4 is don't. I just lose my train of thought again. Don't get in foul trouble, especially in the front court. Don't get in foul trouble because even if we don't have Andrew Carr, it's going to be even more of a problem. Okay, now that we've broken this down, let's go ahead and talk about how big this game is. Kentucky drops their first road game in the SEC to Georgia. You can make that up and erase that loss with a win here against a top 15 team, right? It's a top 15 matchup in the SEC. You get this win, you kind of erase that. You kind of set yourself back on the right track with a foot forward. Okay, you set yourself up because you got some 2 home games coming up that it's going to be a lot easier to play at home. Okay, kind of set yourself in the right, kind of back right to the spot that you were, not digging yourself a hole again if you win this. That's how big of this game this is. Okay, it'll help with our resume, and it'll help with, and it'll also help with the polls. I'm not talking about AP poll. I'm talking about seating, basically. And I think in the latest Joe Lunardi bracket, we were at the 4th. At one point, we were 1. Another point, we were 2. Another point, we were 3. We've consistently gone down. So I think this will be good to get this win and possibly jump up if the Cats win. Okay. Now I'm going to give you an MVP and prediction. Okay. MVP for this game, I'm going to predict it. Give me Jaxson Robinson just because we need him to show out, right? We need him to show out. Jaxson Robinson will come to play today if the Cats win. MVP right there. My prediction. My prediction for this game. Cats are a 6-point underdog. It's really hard for me to predict this game. But Kentucky hasn't lost here since 2008. I don't really like going off the history, but it's in Kentucky's favor this time. And it was also something that when we played at Georgia, we haven't won there since like 2020 or something like that. So I'm going to go with the history. Cats win tonight in a big one. Take down the number 14th ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs on the road in the SEC to get back to where they were, kind of erase that loss to Georgia. They win by 2. They win 80-78 in a dog scrap of the game. Again, Jaxson Robinson being my MVP. Now, again, key points of this game, if Kentucky's going to win this, have Andrew Carr for the depth and for just how good of a player he is. Number 2, protect the rim because they have especially really good bigs. Shoot 40% today because that has been the magic number for Kentucky to win this season. Number 4, don't get in foul trouble, especially in the front court because then, especially if you don't have Andrew Carr, we don't have anybody to throw out there, and that's worse than who they already have matched up against us. So that is my prediction. Kentucky wins by 2. I'm going with the history with this one. Kentucky pulls it out in a tough one on the road here. It's going to be tough again. Cats win by 2, 80-78. Big one for the Cats. But thank you guys so much for listening to episode number 6 here on the podcast. Make sure to go check our social media on X, TikTok, and Instagram. BigBlue_breakdown. We'll talk about this game possibly tonight, maybe tomorrow, but there definitely will be an episode out tomorrow reviewing this game after the Cats get a big dub against Mississippi State Bulldogs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here to this episode, and go Cats.